Dear diary full of shit, just play along, me, myself, and I, no one else. Yo, I'm so legit. I ain't got nothing to say, so I figured I'd say some shit. I was just watching me some videos on sleep apnea and CPAPs and whatnot. Um, when I said I had the kind of sleep apnea where it's your throat isn't obstructed, but your diaphragm isn't working right. Like I said, I didn't actually ask the guy, and I should have. Um, I think that's what I have. Um, I mean, sometimes I snore a little bit, but it's kind of like one of them little baby snores. It's just kind of like, it's not a, like that. But I, I've kind of noticed sometimes. It's like I might roll over. Because like I said, I like to kind of change positions. I sleep fine, but I like to briefly, wake up and change positions and fall back asleep. In which case, somebody might argue, well, you're not supposed to wake up. Okay, fine, whatever. But like I said, I sleep fine. But then again, that's what everybody says. Um, I can function off of 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep. I prefer 8 to 10. And I've been that way my whole life. Maybe I've had a mild case of sleep apnea my whole life. Um, I do remember that though. I just barely had sleep apnea, like just enough to fail. And I remember, alcohol or any other type of sedative can affect it, but they might, that kind of more applies to the obstructive sleep apnea, or OSA, versus central sleep apnea, CSA, which is what I thought, I just sort of assumed that I had, but I didn't verify. And apparently that's the more rare case, and I haven't really looked into it yet, but it sounds like there's really no cure for that, other than some stupid implant or something, which I would not fuck with. It did say something about, like people with congestive heart failure. I'll have to look into that because, as near as I can tell, my heart's pretty healthy. But, I don't want to, just assume shit, because, I think about shit like that, your different nervous systems, and I've done audio presentations about that, things you take for granted. What if you woke up one day and you couldn't shit? Or you couldn't breathe, or your, heart was irregular, you know, um, shit like that. So, there's three different types of nervous systems, I guess. The automatic ones that take care of, functions like taking a shit, breathing, your heart rate. Oh shit. And then there's like the ones that control your like muscles and stuff. Your brain tells your arm to move. And then the third one, I'll have to look it up again. Is I don't know if that's like your sense of feel. Physical, emotional, both. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, as per usual, I say shit, and sometimes I just sort of say it without actually really thinking about it. But I know that sounds funny. But, it's like it happened the other day, like talking about credit cards and stuff. It's like you kind of forgot to mention an important part, which is the interest, you know. And if you pay it off in full, you don't have any, you know. And with your mortgage, as far as I understand it, they apply that, no matter what. I don't think, because like I said, with your mortgage, you don't get to pay. I think you can pay more. You can pay it off early, you just can't pay it off late. But anyway, stuff like that. And I looked it up, like how they calculate it and stuff, because I don't know that shit, because I never gave a shit. Because I've just always been that guy, like, fuck it, I don't want to fuck with it, like, if you do this, we'll do that, but then we'll add a little bit of this. But if you can't afford this, then we can mix this up into 3 different things. Now, these 3 different things have these separate little things off this, but what you can do is, the first 6 months we won't do shit, and then we can consolidate all these, Section C, and that'll affect Section B, which is going to ultimately help you pay off Section B, and, never lose sight of Section A, and I always figured, man, fuck off, man. How about you just make enough fucking money where you don't have to fucking do that bullshit? Because these people are not your friends. Like I said, the bank is not your friend. The credit card company is not your friend. The insurance company is not your friend. And I would even go so far as to say the doctor is not your friend, the medical industry. Now, generally, I mean, I'm not saying you go to the doctor and they're going to try and fuck you over, But they're going to take the safest route for them. They're going to push pills. They might be in the pockets, pill companies. I don't know. I don't care. Like I said, whenever I go to the doctor, I show up with questions. And like I said, there's a technique to talking to people, getting information from them. You just piecemeal that information out little by little. And if they answer your question, then fine. Maybe you want to elaborate on that. But what if this happens? But let them speak. Just give them as little information as possible. That way you find out if they actually know what you're trying to say. Maybe they know what they're talking about, but you're saying it wrong. That's like, you're welcome, that's like a life hack. When you're talking to people, let them speak. Because the more you say, the more they get to adapt and adjust and nod and smile to what you're saying. So, anyway, guess that's all I gotta say. Baby, hey. I hate everybody. Grr. Fuck you. Have a good day. Or whatever. That reminds me, oh yeah. Katie Boo. Sweet future wife of mine. That one video. I'll have to save that if I didn't already, because that's cute. That's adorable. I mean, you had to have done that on purpose. I mean, what the hell was that? Okay, that's it. Oh, thank you. I feel better. Okay. Yeah. Shit. Do you go to therapy?